Welcome to the Instagram Stories podcast. I'm your host, Daniel Hill. If this is your first time listening to the show, welcome. Let me give you a little bit of background. Here's how this show works. I find experts who are incredibly knowledgeable about social media. Either they've created content, or they've analyzed content, or they've built a brand and a following from scratch, and I get them to come on this show and share their secrets, their tips, their tricks, their strategies, all of that in about 20 minutes or so. I like to keep things short because you are busy and you do not want to spend 6 hours listening to an interview, nor should you. Let's get right to the crux of the matter as soon as possible. That's my philosophy. If you like this kind of content, I will tell you that I have another podcast called The Instagram Stories, which is focused on social media news. A lot of things happen in the social media landscape. Platforms add features. Sometimes those platforms get taken away and then brought back the same weekend for all kinds of chaos. Or sometimes I inject a little bit of strategy in a short formatted show. If you like that, you will love the Instagram Stories, which is a very brief 8-minute, 9-minute podcast that I do 2, sometimes 3 times per week. To give you an example of what kind of content I share on that show, I will show a clip that I recently shared from the head of Instagram talking about what you can do to ensure that your content gets recommended on Instagram in 2025. It's very important that your content gets recommended by the algorithm so that people who do not follow you already have an opportunity to see that content. For an example of what I'm talking about, here's a clip from the head of Instagram explaining how to get your content recommended on the Instagram algorithm in 2025 and the 5 things you have to do in order for that to happen.
The second in a short series of videos about how ranking works on Instagram. And this one's focused on recommendations and how to have your content show up. Now, if you don't know, recommendations are when you see a piece of content from an account you have not decided to follow yet. And they're an increasingly important part of Instagram, and they're how we're growing the overall pie and trying to drive as much reach to as many creators as possible. And if you want your content to be eligible to show up to people who have not decided to follow you yet, you need to meet these 5 criteria. 1, no watermarks. 2, make sure you add audio, particularly important for photos and carousels. 3, if you are posting a video, make sure that it's 3 minutes long or less. 4, make sure that the content is original. And that doesn't mean you can't work with someone else's content, but you have to significantly make it your own. So I could take someone else's video and do a green screen on top of it and give my commentary. That would be original. And 5, make sure your account is in good status, which you can check by going to Profile and to Account Status. So if you want to maximize your reach and grow your follower count as quickly as possible, make sure you do those 5 things. And it'll help a lot, I promise. More to come soon. Peace.
That's an example of the kind of content I share on my show, the Instagram Stories. So if you like that and you want more of it, look for the Instagram Stories wherever you get podcasts. Let's get into today's interview. Today I'm talking to Kirsti Lang. I first heard about Kirsti when I read an article that she wrote for Buffer's blog called Data Shows Instagram Reels Are Best for Reach, but Not Engagement. She made a fantastic short video clip to go with this article. And when I saw the kind of content that she was making, I reached out. I actually got an introduction to her from Lindsay Gamble. Lindsay is a content creator, social media strategist who's been on the show previously. I asked Lindsay for an introduction. He was nice enough to arrange that. And Kirsti and I talked for about 20-25 minutes. Without any further ado, here is the interview of me talking with Kirsti Lang from the Buffer team. Today on the show, we're here with Kirsti Lang. Kirsti, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Daniel.
Kirsti, for people who might not be familiar with you, can you tell us who you are and what it is that you do?
Oh, what don't I do? So I am a content marketer by day, and then a creator, podcaster by night. I say that, but mostly I do work in the day. I don't actually work at night. So I work as a writer for a company called Buffer, and we make social media management software, which is awesome. It's a fantastic company to work for. So my area of expertise in both kind of my content and my work is social media, productivity, career growth. So those are the kinds of things that I talk about on the internet with.
I love that. I have talked to other people from Buffer on the show. I recently had on Amanda Marachko from the product team at Buffer. And we talked about the Threads integration. And if you work
Yeah.
in social media and you're not familiar with Buffer, it's a fantastic tool that lets you post to multiple social media platforms at once. If you are just starting out, the free version allows you to post to 3 social media platforms. You can customize the text or the caption, I should say, for each one. If you're not familiar, highly recommended. I wanted to spend a little bit of time talking about some of the data that you and the team at Buffer have been sharing recently, especially when it comes to what you found by analyzing all the Instagram data available to you and the rest of the team at Buffer. Can we talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. I
Is that
mean,
right?
of
Okay.
course. Yeah. This is one of my favorite things that I am working on right now. We have, obviously, as you mentioned, we have a wealth of data because Buffer has analytics features as well. So, um, yeah, I mean, it varies platform to platform, but we have a lot of data that we're able to tap into to kind of help users and other folks on social make data driven decisions about their content, right? Because platforms are getting better about doing this. So, for example, like Adam Mosseri has done like a bunch of really helpful videos where he's explained the algorithm, and I think they're really trying to be more transparent about that at Instagram in particular. But more sometimes it's quite difficult to understand, this algorithm and that algorithm, and this one ranks this, sends per reach, and then we're talking about likes, and then we're talking about engagement, and it's very confusing even for someone who lives social. So I love this project because it really helps us kind of demystify some of that, the black box of the social media algorithm, and kind of help folks make informed decisions about that. We also have a data scientist on our team, which I know we're incredibly lucky to have. He's just one person, and the amount of work that Julian does, shout out to Julian, is insane. But yeah, so I'm able to kind of be like, hey, Julian, can you tell me, like, what is the impact of posting consistently on social media? Like, can we figure that out? And he's like, okay, but like, what actually do you want to know? I'm like, I don't know. Just tell me some numbers, what you got. And he's great. So he will come up with like charts and spreadsheets, and yeah, it's fantastic. And we're really focusing on these data driven articles at the moment. We've got data on all of the platforms that Buffer supports. So yeah, it's been a fun project.
Okay, that's fascinating because a lot of times when you are trying to post consistently, you're trying to maybe work on a specific niche or a specific angle or focus, and it seems like it's not really resonating. You're trying to figure out why is it not, right? And so to have
Mm,
that data across multiple accounts, all the Buffer
yeah.
clients who are making posts regularly and kind of being able to analyze that data and say, okay, what does that mean for me? I want to get into that when we talk about what is the best time to post. Historically, and I'm using this as a brief example because that's something that you can see within the Instagram app. You can tell, okay, when are my followers online? But that doesn't necessarily correspond to what is the best time to post. And I think historically, people have said, and even Adam Mosseri, post a little bit before your followers are going to be online. Okay, well, if my followers are online at 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., let's just say, then my post should be at 8 a.m. So then when they open up the app at 9 a.m., they can see it. I think from what I'm reading in the Buffer data that you posted, that's not exactly the way to do it. A little bit different. So can we save that
Mm,
for later in the conversation? But that is absolutely something I want to dig into. If we
yeah,
can,
of course we can.
let's start with the first report that I saw, which is where you and obviously Julian, the data scientist, came out with this post
Hey,
that
Julian.
Instagram Reels are best for reach, but not necessarily engagement. And can you talk about what that title means and a little bit about the data that you uncovered?
Yeah, so as part of our kind of we have a best time to post series that we are updating annually. And as a part of that, we look at the best performing content on the platform. And we have kind of been including that all in the same article or report. But this year we just decided to dig a little bit deeper because I think the general, I want to say zeitgeist, that's not the right word, the general advice that people will give you about Instagram is just kind of reels, 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 reels. And that's great and it works, but it's also quite intimidating. So we wanted to kind of dig into the different metrics to see, okay, is Instagram becoming TikTok? And maybe that is going to be the case in, the next couple of years or a couple of months, even given the rate at which they're making changes now. But yeah, so we looked at both reach of Instagram posts and engagement of Instagram posts. And what we found was really interesting was that obviously the reach of Reels was significantly higher than other different content types. And so the three different content types we kind of looked at and classified was single photo posts, Reels, and then carousels. And when we say carousels, obviously we mean multiple photo posts. So that, that's not, I know LinkedIn people listening to this might think that's like a PDF carousel or something. It could be that, or it could be photos. So any just kind of multi content post. It could include videos as well, of course. So we compared all of those different content types, and I think I'm gonna look at the numbers right now because I can't remember them off the top of my head. I've been working on a different data article today, and all the numbers kind of tend to blur after a while. But yeah, so sorry, Daniel, I'm getting there. So Reels see 36% more reach than other post types, which is in line with what we expect, right? Obviously, they came out significantly higher than single photo posts and less significantly higher than carousel posts. The carousel posts do see more reach than single photo posts. But then, and this surprised me a lot because I think historically we have tied engagement to content performance, right? We know, if you know anything about the Instagram algorithm, and previously the advice that you would give is, engagement is the most important signal to the algorithm. So that is what is going to determine your reach. And that's not necessarily true in this because there is such a big discrepancy between reach and engagement of Instagram post types. So
Actually,
Instagram
wait.
carousels.
Before you go any
Yeah,
further,
sorry,
no. I
I'm going
agree,
off on
and
a
I'm
tangent.
locked in on everything you're saying. If somebody is not so familiar with these terms, can you define how you are explaining reach
Oh,
versus
man.
engagement? I have in my head that reach would be the number of people who would see your content, and engagement would be how many people that
Yes.
actually take action on it, meaning they like it, they make a comment, they share it with somebody else, or they save it. I just want to make sure that I'm, number one, defining that in the same way that you are, and second, that the audience is aligned with that as well.
Yes, absolutely. I asked Julian this, and I was just want to dot my I's and cross my T's. So you've summed it up perfectly. We define Instagram reach in the same way that Instagram does. So that is the total number of times the account's media objects, I'm not making this up, total amount of times the account's media objects, so that is your posts, have been uniquely viewed.
Right.
And then engagement is exactly what you said, the number of likes, saves, comments, and shares on the post, minus the number of unlikes, unsaves, and deleted comments. So that is the kind of thing when you will go and report a post or say, I don't like this content. So that obviously
Or
impacts
maybe if
engagement
you're
as well.
snooping and you go way back in someone else's content really, really far, and then you accidentally like it, and then you know, oh no, and then you unlike it. That could be part. But I'm digressing. Please continue. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I've done that fairly recently, and it's very embarrassing. And I had to Google, is that going to show up in notifications?
Yes.
Probably. But it's fine. We move. Yes. And then we were talking about carousels and how they see more engagement. Now, so they only see 12% more engagement than other post types. So they get 12% more engagement than Reels, and then 114% more engagement than single image posts.
Can we just pause on that data? Because you said so much there. So for getting in front of the maximum number of eyeballs, in that case, you would want to use a reel. If you want as many people as possible to engage with your post, it would be better to use a carousel. And you just said the percentage to back that up. Can you say that one more time, please, if I understood you correctly?
So carousels on Instagram get 12% more engagement than Reels,
right,
according to our data. Yep. And then 114% more engagement than single photo posts. So, carousels are phenomenal. They are so great for engagement. And I think if you think about how you engage on Instagram, I find commenting on a video or engaging with a video kind of weird. I don't like to do it. It's just it's not the kind, especially for creators, people that I don't know. I'm not really going to go in and engage in that way. And that's why I think recently Adam Mosseri was on the Colin and Samir podcast, and he spoke about sends per reach and how important that is. So that's kind of what they look to for Reels as the engagement metric, because people don't engage on Reels in the way that they do on maybe carousel posts. And I think it also, I'm getting super into the weeds here and just extrapolating on the data, but I think it also comes down to how people use carousels as well. So my feed is mostly filled with people who will do really authentic photo dumps, and it'll be less polished images in a carousel, right? Because you can still keep the feed aesthetic by having your initial post or your initial photo look quite good. Yeah, so I think engagement is just feels so much more natural and much more likely on carousel posts. So that's something that I've been thinking about in my own Instagram content. And what I love about this is it shows, and I think a lot of people who love Instagram are still quite intimidated by video, and it's feeling very much like, if I'm not making reels, then should I even be on Instagram at all? And this data shows that yes, you can still get a lot of value from, not single image, sorry, you can still get a lot of value from photo posts if you turn them into a carousel. So yeah, I think that was really comforting for me as someone who just doesn't have the capacity to be making, 3 reels a week.
I'm so glad you talked about that, especially for photographers, because if you're a photographer, you might be very frustrated with the Instagram experience. You work so hard to take that photo, set it up, make it look great. And then
Yeah.
you're going to say the Buffer statistics said that it's 114% less likely to get engagement. Why would I bother? But putting them together in a carousel, the 10 best images you took in January 2025, one of those 10 or 20, however many pictures, someone's going to like one of those the best. And right. And that's the likelihood that they're going to share it, tap on it, comment, whatever. So I think this is a really important finding. Because I want to be conscious of time, I
Yeah.
want to jump into some of the other data that you and the Buffer team have been sharing recently when it comes to the best time to post. Do you mind talking a little bit about some of the findings that you've
Mhm.
had around that?
Yeah, so we've had this data for a while. We had our 2024 data up last year, and now we've completely refreshed that. I'm in the process of overhauling all of the articles to reflect the latest data that we have. So far, I've done Instagram, and we've got LinkedIn up, and we've got TikTok coming. So by the time this is published, maybe this will all be out. But yeah, so that's kind of what I'm working on at the moment. I love the best time to post data for Instagram because, as you highlighted earlier, and this is something that I've seen in my own content, right? So my Instagram insights tell me that my audience is most active at 6 p.m. And so I've been posting content at 6
Actually,
p.m. just to,
sorry to
see.
interrupt. Is that 6 p.m. in your time zone or is that 6 p.m. in the
Yes.
Instagram headquarters time zone?
Oh gosh, I mean, this is a whole other like kind of can of worms with best time to post data, right? Because so often it's EST or PT, and for someone who's based in South Africa, like, what do I do with that? Should I be posting in the middle of the night, right? Like what? And what we did with our analysis is I really wanted to make sure that it was universally applicable. Wherever your audience is the time zone that we are. I'm fudging this. I'm trying to say basically the times that we have given for the study are globally applicable. So Julian has done some crazy mathematical magic and he has made it universally applicable for your time zone. And it makes sense, right? Because audience behaviors and their patterns are largely quite similar throughout the day, right? They're going to be on Instagram at similar times, if they're a similar demographic in different countries. So yeah, I've gone off on
I'm
a
so glad
tangent.
you clarified that. Thank you for no. I'm glad you did because I believe that, and I'm going off my memory, but when I look into the Instagram insights, it shows me best time to post based on Pacific. I believe I could be wrong on that.
Interesting.
So hearing you, I might be wrong, but hearing okay, we looked at the data and we analyzed what's best for your specific audience where you are is exactly what I needed to hear. So thank you for spending the time and really getting into the weeds to do that homework. I appreciate that.
Yeah, no, I mean that's all Julian. I feel like he should have come on the podcast to talk about this because he understands the nuance. But Daniel, would you like to know the best times to post on Instagram in
I
2025?
absolutely would.
Okay, so I've got them. So generally speaking, Instagram behavior, and this has been so fascinating because I can compare all of the data we have to other platforms. So LinkedIn is so predictable. There are chunks of time that are good for posting that we see that posts get high engagement or high reach. But for Instagram, it's slightly less predictable, but there is a definite pattern there. For TikTok, it's absolute chaos. It's kind of sporadic high points throughout the day. I'm like, oh, is there a pattern here? I don't know. But anyway, Instagram is great. And generally, I can recommend if you can't be bothered with specific times, you don't want to figure out a fancy content calendar, between 3 p.m. and 6 p.m. in your audience's time zone is the best time to post on Instagram. But I can also give you very specific times for each day if you're interested
I
in
would
those.
like any and all of that if you're okay to share it.
So best time to post on Instagram on Monday is 3 p.m. Then on Tuesday, it's 3 p.m. Wednesday, it is 3 p.m. Friday is 3 p.m. And then Saturday and Sunday, it is 6 p.m. So very predictable. Folks behave like clockwork. I like to think that people are like logging onto Instagram kind of towards the end of the workday and into the evening, right? Because if you think about how you use Instagram, I would probably be willing to bet you're spending most of your downtime, evening time, logging onto the platform.
For me, it's short breaks throughout the day, but yes, significantly more. And especially my wife, I watch her when she comes home from work. She sits down on the couch to decompress for a little while, and that's the
Yeah,
first thing she does is start scrolling through. So I completely get that, and that makes sense. People do it, on the train ride home or on the bus
exactly.
home, whatever. Absolutely makes sense. Do you have any data? And I'm sorry for putting this question on you on the spot, but weekends versus weekdays, is it worth
Do I
posting on the
have
weekends?
data? I have the data. Yes, I do. So if you want to check out all of this and, look at the data without my incoherent ramblings, do head over to buffer.com, or you can just Google when is the best time to post on Instagram, and it should come up close to the top, I hope.
I
Um,
will link to all of this in the show
oh,
notes.
bless you.
Please
Okay,
continue.
thank you. So yeah, I mean, there are marginal differences between the days of the week in terms of reach on Instagram. So what we did, it's also worth pointing out that we analyzed the reach of Instagram posts compared to the time that they were posted. So in the data, we are making these assumptions on best time to post based on Instagram accounts that posted at the specific time or in the specific day tended to get the most reach, um, just for additional context. But the best day to post on Instagram, according to our analysis, is Friday. But it's only marginally better than Monday. Monday is also a great day to post on Instagram. And then on the weekend, we see things are slightly lower than weekdays on a Saturday, and then fairly significantly lower on a Sunday. So I would avoid weekends if you can.
That is very interesting. That's actually a key takeaway because if you work very hard on the content and maybe you do that over the weekend, it's going to be worth it to
Mm,
wait until Monday at 3 p.m. your time for that added
yeah.
boost. It's worth it, right? You've already made the content. You sit on it for a day and a half and you get more bang for your buck, so to speak. So I really like that and I appreciate that level of data.
Just the kind of thing that I tend to tell people that obviously every single audience is different. And while this is probably true for a lot of people, and I think you will probably see good results if you do kind of stick to these times. Um, Firstly, every audience is different. So you're going to need to experiment with these time slots, see if you can find your own sweet spot, right? Secondly, the thing that I wanted to add was that posting at the best time in the world for your audience, if every single follower that you had was online at a specific time, it doesn't guarantee the success of your post, right? Because time is only a small part of the Instagram algorithm. And so there, I would argue, are other things that are more important. So, for example, if you're posting reels, a strong hook, visual and verbal. If you're posting photos, are they authentic? Are they engaging? And I mean, there are a host of things to think about across industries, right? So the quality of the content is always going to be the most important thing. But if you have high quality content, you have a good understanding of what your audience is looking for, then posting at these good times is probably going to give your content a nice little nudge, but it's not going to be your saving grace if you don't kind of know what to be posting for your audience. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. And I'm really glad you added all those caveats because those are really
Mm.
important. Just because you post at the world's greatest time does not necessarily mean that that content is going to resonate if you don't have a good hook and all the other things you mentioned. So I'm really glad you said all of that.
Okay.
Kirsty, where can we continue to follow your journey online and what can we look forward to you creating in the near future?
Yeah. Oh, good question. Whatever comes into my head on the day is usually what I create. I don't know. That's not true. There is a plan. But yeah, so I am getting a little bit more active again on Instagram. My primary social platform right now is LinkedIn because obviously I talk about things that are more appealing to professionals than Instagram audiences. But you can still find me having some fun around on there on Reels. It's me Kirsty on Instagram and then Kirsti Lang on LinkedIn. Yeah, if you're interested in hearing some more of my incoherent ramblings, also check out the content on the Buffer blog. We have such great stuff and we have such wonderful experts on the team. It is a delight to create this content. So, yeah, definitely do check that out if you want some social media guidance.
I will link to all of that in the show notes. Kirsti, thank you so much for coming on and thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you for putting up with all of my random rabbit holes that I went down there. I feel like I probably didn't explain things as coherently as I could have, but yeah, it's been a delight.
Okay, that's it for my interview with Kirsti. Although that's not true. If you want to hear a little bit more of Kirsti and I talking, we actually get into what her setup for content creation is like, the tools that she uses, the things that are in her environment, the way everything in her office is positioned for video recording. Check that out after the theme music. If you like this show and you benefited from this content, if you could do me a huge favor, please leave a review of this show on Apple Podcasts. That would be the best place to do it. It would ensure that other people who come across the podcast see your review, see that it's valuable, and give it an opportunity and give it a chance. That would mean so much to me if you could leave a review. It doesn't cost anything. It's the best way to support the show. If you would like more content like this, please check out the Instagram stories, which is my social media news podcast. You can look for that wherever you get podcasts, and you can even look for it on your smart speaker if you prefer to listen to things on smart speakers, and some people do. Be sure to come back next time for more social media news, strategy, and other important things that you need to know that you will learn from guests on the show. Thanks so much for listening.
Let me tell you a couple things that you should know about me. A product manager but do not have a bachelor's degree. But actually that's factually a fraction of me. Another fraction's posting content irregular and irrationally. Still probably won't get a job at the Gram. They forgot, they don't know, or don't care who I am. That's why you never see me at the parties and events. My lack of followers must make me irrelevant. Don't have a course, a book to sell to make a bag of grand. Not a social media marketer, don't represent any brands. Plain to see, don't have an agency, but I got a lot of spam. Just putting in my work, without the glitz and glam. Won't catch me eating fish, unless it's shrimp or clam. No six pack, no wrist clap, there's a gym card in my hand. Don't have a full-time job, but I got a lot of plans. Stay plotting, dropping knowledge on TikTok and Instagram.
Kirsti, one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about is how you make your videos. The first time I saw your video that you were talking about this data and how you analyzed it and what the findings were, you just had a great setup and it made me want to redecorate my poorly decorated space. Can you talk a little bit about how you set that up, how you film your videos, how you make everything look so cohesively decorated in a way that's so attractive? Can you talk about that, please?
That is so kind. It's honestly getting my workspace set up has been my passion project for a couple of months now. So it's really good to hear you say that. I think so. Obviously, I work remotely, so being in a beautiful space, I think, helps me be a little bit more productive. But also, I am working on Buffer's YouTube channel now as well. So we're in the process of converting all of our great blog content into YouTube videos, and we didn't have a huge amount of budget. We weren't going to kind of hire talent to present the videos or be able to hire studios. We just really wanted to kind of do minimum viable product to test it out. And I was like, I can do this. I'm going to figure it out. And part of figuring that out did involve honing my presenting skills, getting some kind of bare bones tech, and then also making sure that my space looked good. Because I don't know if you ever, I don't know, have you watched a YouTube video ever? People just have the most insane setups because they all film in beautiful studios, right? So I thought if I'm going to be competing on this level, it needs to look decent. So yeah, I appreciate you saying that. It's a work in progress. It needs to tidy up my little space.
Can you talk briefly about some of the tools that you use? Because I'm almost positive you have a standing desk. I've seen how your microphone is positioned and everything. Can you talk about that for a quick second as well?
Yeah. Oh man, one of my favorite things to talk about on Instagram is my office setup and the various things that I use. So if you do want to check out where I got stuff, I don't know if it'll be easy to find for US folks because most of it was bought in South Africa, but I have like a full list of everything over on Instagram. But so I have a standing desk. I recently bought a walking pad, which I was hoping would change my life. It hasn't, but it's been quite nice, I think. I don't want to
Appreciate the
oversell
honesty.
it. Yeah, it's been fine. And then I'm a multi-screen worker. So I have 3 screens, including my laptop, which is a problem. But also for filming my videos, I have this podcasting mic, which I use. It's a Shure MV7, I think the older version. And then I use my phone to film most of my videos. I get really good quality content from my phone. And then I have a really simple budget tripod that I stick my phone on. So,
And do
yeah.
you add the captions and graphics yourself? Do you do all the video editing on your own too?
Yeah. Oh, this is my favorite thing to talk about. Can you tell I'm getting really excited here? So yes, I edit all of the videos end to end as well. So it's really cool. We obviously write the content, we script the videos, we film the videos. My colleague Tammy Oladipo and I do everything kind of end to end. And yeah, we edit them as well. So I have been using CapCut to edit. I feel like I might need to say CapCut RIP. We are looking at exploring other tools, but the desktop version of CapCut is really cool. It's really good for beginners. And I think kind of once you nail that, like it's not a very big step up to the more advanced editing tools like, I don't know, Premiere Pro or Final Cut. So that's my mountain to climb this year, is to get more advanced video editing. But yeah, for now it's CapCut.
I have been using CapCut on the desktop as well. I personally just use the free version for some quick cuts, but as they put more and more features behind the paywall, I personally have not decided to pay for it until I know either it's going to still be available or it's not going to be, in which case
Yeah.
I'll be glad I did not pay for it. But CapCut is absolutely a great way to get started. It's not too intimidating. It might seem that way at first, but excellent way to get started video editing on the desktop. I 100% agree with that.
Absolutely.